Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into Uno Minda Limited's second quarter and half-year financials.
Fresh off the press.
Yeah, for the period ending September 30th, 2024.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of things here. We've got a regulatory filing, which is overflowing with numbers.
As always.
And then we got a snappy little investor presentation
Mm-hmm.
with some highlights, so we'll be using both to kind of paint the full picture for you.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here is that Uno Minda is a big player in the auto component space.
Okay?
So their performance is kind of like a window into the health of the whole industry.
Interesting. Okay.
And the view is, well, complex.
Ooh, I love complex, so lay it on me.
All right, so the Indian auto industry, it's definitely growing, but it's not a straight climb, you know? Motorcycles are flying off the shelves,
Totally.
especially in rural areas.
Okay.
And passenger vehicles are holding steady.
All right.
But commercial vehicles took a bit of a speed bump this quarter.
Interesting. So kind of a mixed bag, but I'm guessing this is where the EV story comes in.
You bet.
Okay.
Electric two-wheeler registrations are through the roof, up 58% year over year.
Wow. Okay, that's huge.
That is huge. And the government's new PM eDrive subsidy program is definitely fanning those flames.
So Uno Minda is riding this wave. They have to be all over this EV boom.
Oh, absolutely. They're expanding in Indonesia,
Wait.
where passenger vehicle sales are really hot.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a gamble too, right? Currency swings, political changes, it's not a guaranteed win.
Right.
And then there's their partnership with Minda Ltd
Okay.
to make speakers right there in India.
So they're making the speakers in India.
In India.
Wow. Okay.
Which is a smart move to broaden their product line and their customer base.
Okay, so they're expanding geographically. And in terms of what they sell, what else is going on operationally?
New plants. They've got new facilities coming online for seat belts, smart keys,
Whoa.
even more capacity for other products.
Wow. They're like a construction crew over there.
They are. It's all about growth.
Yeah.
And all of this should be a major revenue boost in the future. But they're also consolidating, moving their Uno Minda plant in North India for better efficiency.
Okay, so it's a mix of kind of aggressive growth and strategic streamlining.
It is, exactly.
All right, lots of moving pieces, but let's get to the heart of the matter. How did they actually perform financially?
Well, the headline is positive. Group revenues are up a healthy 17% year over year,
Okay.
hitting Rs 5,112 crore.
So good growth overall. What about when we look at the consolidated picture?
Even better. Consolidated revenue jumped up to Rs 4,245 crore, showing solid gains. And get this, EBITDA, which basically tells us how profitable they are before accounting for all the fancy financial stuff, is up a whopping 20% to Rs 482 crore.
Wow.
That translates to a healthy margin of 11.36%.
So they're not just growing, they're getting more profitable as they do it.
Exactly. Efficiency.
Music to investors' ears.
Yeah.
All right, what's the bottom line look like?
Profit after tax, or PTE.
Ooh.
Uno Minda's share of the pie is up 9% year over year, landing at Rs 245 crore.
Okay.
And they also reported a positive EPS, another good sign for those watching the stock.
All right, so the numbers at the top level look great, but I know you like to dig deeper. What's the story behind the numbers? What jumps out at you when you break down the revenue by division?
Well, switches are their bread and butter, biggest chunk of their revenue, followed by lighting and castings.
Okay.
But what's fascinating is how these operational changes are reflected in these numbers.
Okay.
Remember that new lighting plant they're bringing online?
Yeah. They're expanded like crazy.
Right. Well, their lighting revenue is up a strong 23%.
Wow.
And they're actually exceeding initial demand from the original equipment manufacturers, the OEMs.
Okay.
So they're not just keeping up, they're ahead of the game.
That's impressive, but I recall them mentioning some headwinds in certain segments.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Well, the European market slowdown is definitely having an impact.
Okay.
Their acoustic segment is feeling the pinch with flat revenue. It's a classic example of how global events can create ripple effects, even for a company like Uno Minda.
Right. A reminder that even with strong overall performance, there can be pockets of difficulty.
Exactly.
What other segments are facing challenges?
Seating is another one facing headwinds,
Okay.
particularly in the European agricultural vehicle market. But here's where it gets interesting. They're offsetting those losses by winning new contracts with two-wheeler OEMs in India.
Okay, so they're showing some flexibility.
They're adapting.
All right, but let's talk about the segment I'm most curious about.
Yes.
Others.
Uh-huh.
This is where the EV action really heats up, right?
Absolutely. The fact that they've won orders for wall-mounted EV chargers, hub drive motors, and mid-drive motors
Oh, yeah.
shows just how serious they are about this space.
So they're not just dipping their toes in the water. They're going for a full EV cannonball.
Exactly. And we shouldn't forget their strategic acquisitions and amalgamations. They're swallowing up smaller players.
Right.
And consolidating their position, which is a classic power play in a rapidly growing market.
So strategically, they're ticking all the boxes. Expansion, diversification, acquisitions.
Yes.
It's a lot to keep track of. But before we dive into the specifics of their EV strategy,
Okay.
let's take a quick look at their aftermarket business.
All right.
This is their direct connection to consumers.
Right.
And it's a growing part of their game plan, right?
It is. That's right.
Okay.
They've built this huge network of retailers and service points across India and even internationally.
So it's like a spider web reaching out to customers everywhere.
It is.
And that network is paying off big time.
Yes.
Their aftermarket segment pulled in a cool RZS 282 crore in revenue this quarter.
Wow.
Clearly, they're not just relying on OEMs. They're building a strong brand presence with consumers.
Exactly. That's a key takeaway here. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket. But let's shift gears now.
Okay.
And really zoom in on their dedicated EV strategy.
All right, let's plug in and explore what they're up to in the EV world. This is where things get really exciting.
It is. Buckle up.
All right.
All right, so we're back and ready to dive into that EV cannonball, Uno Minda's EV strategy.
Let's do it, but break it down for me. What exactly is their EV product lineup? We know they're targeting both two-wheelers and four-wheelers, right?
You got it. So for two-wheelers, think of it like a full conversion kit.
Oh, yeah.
Onboard chargers, battery management systems, those little brains that keep the battery happy, motor controllers, DC-DC converters,
Right.
even the traction motors themselves.
Whoa, so they're offering everything but the chassis and the handlebars.
Pretty much, yeah. And remember, we saw those sales figures for two-wheeler EVs.
Yeah, they're already making some serious inroads there.
Exactly. And what's interesting is the kit value.
Good value.
Yeah, each electric scooter or motorcycle sold represents a big bundle of components that Uno Minda can provide.
All right.
So as that market grows, so does their potential slice of the pie.
That's smart. So they're leveraging the existing two-wheeler boom and electrifying it.
Exactly.
What about four-wheelers? Are they as well equipped there?
They're making moves, no doubt.
Yeah.
Currently, they've got wall-mounted charging units, those boxes you see popping up everywhere.
Right.
Integrated charging control units that go inside the cars. Battery disconnect units for safety, and even AC charging cables.
Okay, so the essentials are covered, but I'm remembering something from the investor presentation
Yeah.
about a partnership with a company called Innovance. Is that ringing any bells?
Yeah, yes. This is where it gets juicy. Innovance is a global heavyweight when it comes to the brains of EVs and hybrids.
Okay.
Think intelligent components. This partnership is crucial for Uno Minda's long game.
Okay, color me intrigued. Give me the details. What are they cooking up together?
Cutting-edge stuff. We're talking advanced charging control units,
Okay.
EV inverters, the heart of the electric power system, EV motors themselves, and even next-gen 3-in-1 electric drive systems.
3-in-1.
Yeah, those are called e-axles.
E-axles. Sounds futuristic.
They are. Picture this. The electric motor, the inverter, and the gearbox all crammed into one neat little package.
Whoa, okay.
Super efficient, perfect for EVs. By partnering with Innovance, Uno Minda is getting a front row seat to these advanced technologies.
So they're playing the field smartly, building their own portfolio while also tapping into the expertise of a global leader.
Exactly.
But let's zoom out for a second. We can't ignore the elephant in the room, or should I say the economic headwinds swirling around the globe.
Right. Yeah, the global economy is looking a little shaky these days.
So how does a company like Uno Minda weather that storm?
Well, remember we talked about how diversified their product line is?
Yeah.
They're not putting all their eggs in the combustion engine basket.
Right.
That's got to provide some cushion.
Okay, so they're not beholden to any single technology.
Right.
Which gives them some flexibility.
Exactly. And don't forget their geographic spread.
Mm-hmm.
They're expanding into these high-growth markets like Indonesia
Right.
to counterbalance slowdowns in places like Europe.
So they're diversifying on multiple fronts. Clever. But beyond just spreading the risk, what else are they doing to stay ahead of the curve?
R&D, my friend. research and development.
Okay.
They've got this serious R&D infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
multiple centers around the world, constantly churning out new tech and refining the existing ones.
So I'm picturing a bunch of engineers in lab coats, surrounded by wires and circuits, like a mad scientist movie.
Pretty much. But seriously, how much are they investing in this?
Yeah.
Big time. The investor presentation highlighted over 1,200 engineers working on new product development
Wow.
across various domains,
Mm-hmm.
EVs included. This ensures that they're not just keeping up, but they're driving innovation, especially in a field as fast-paced as electric vehicles.
So they're not just riding the wave, they're building the wave.
Exactly.
But innovation needs fuel.
Yes.
Literal fuel in this case, in the form of capital investment. Can they actually afford all this expansion and development?
Excellent question. Remember we mentioned those non-convertible debentures they issued?
Yeah.
They raised a significant chunk of change through private placements.
Mm-hmm.
And those funds are specifically earmarked for expansion projects, R&D, overall growth.
Okay, so the war chest is full.
It is.
They've got the money, the brains, and the ambition.
They do.
But what about the people? All of this growth and change requires a skilled workforce.
Right.
And we know talent is a hot commodity these days.
You're hitting on a crucial point.
Yeah.
It's not just about the tech, it's about the people who build and deploy it.
Mm.
And Uno Minda seems to get that, remember, their Great Place to Work certification.
4 years running.
Exactly. It's not just a pat on the back. It signals a real commitment to company culture.
So they're creating a positive and supportive work environment,
Yeah.
which is key for attracting and retaining top talent in this competitive market.
It is.
So happy employees mean a more innovative and productive company. It's a win-win.
Exactly.
All right, so they're firing on all cylinders, financially, strategically, and culturally.
It seems like it.
But let's step back from them and play devil's advocate.
Okay.
What are the biggest challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for them, especially in this crazy EV space?
That is the million-dollar question. The EV market is evolving at warp speed.
Yeah.
So staying ahead of the tech curve is crucial.
Mm-hmm.
Their biggest challenge will be continuous innovation,
Okay.
adapting their offerings to keep pace with the ever-changing demands of both EV manufacturers and consumers.
Right, because what's cutting edge today might be obsolete tomorrow. It's a constant race.
It is.
But on the flip side, that also means a massive opportunity.
Absolutely. If Uno Minda can leverage their partnerships, their R&D muscle,
Okay.
and their manufacturing prowess, they have a real shot at becoming a dominant force in the global EV component arena.
It's like watching a high-stakes poker game and they're holding a strong hand.
Yeah.
But the next few rounds will determine if they can play it right.
We'll see.
Before we wrap up this segment, though, I'm curious, what stands out to you about their approach?
What impresses me is their willingness to embrace change and adapt to this evolving landscape. They're not just reacting, they're actively shaping the future of mobility. They're investing in new tech, expanding globally, and prioritizing sustainability. It's a holistic approach.
Yeah, I agree. They're not just an auto component maker. They're a forward-thinking company that's
Yeah.
betting big on the future. But it's not a solo mission.
Right.
They're building partnerships, nurturing talent along the way.
Exactly. And that brings us to an important question for our listeners.
Okay.
What do you think are the biggest challenges and opportunities for Uno Minda in the EV space?
Yeah, what strategic moves should they prioritize in the coming years?
We've laid out the landscape. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Food for thought as we move into our final segment where we'll explore the big picture trends shaping the automotive industry and where Uno Minda fits within that grand scheme.
Stay tuned, folks. Things are about to get really interesting. Welcome back to the final stretch of our Uno Minda deep dive. We've gone through their financials, their strategic moves, and that big EV push. But now, let's kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture. What are the mega trends shaping the whole automotive landscape, and where does Uno Minda fit within that grand scheme?
Ooh, you're thinking like a true strategist.
Well,
And you're right, context is everything. One trend that is impossible to ignore is this electric vehicle revolution. It's not just a buzzword anymore, it's a global phenomenon.
yeah, and Uno Minda's strategy is clearly reflecting that shift. They're betting big on EV components and forging those key partnerships. But what's driving this EV explosion? Is it just hype, or are there deeper forces at play here?
It's a perfect storm, really.
Okay.
Governments around the world are pushing for cleaner transportation. To combat climate change and pollution, plus battery technology, is getting better and cheaper every year, making EVs more practical for everyday drivers.
And let's not forget the rising cost of gas,
Oh, absolutely.
hitting everyone's wallets, making those electric alternatives look more and more appealing.
Right.
But beyond just the powertrain, there's this whole other layer of disruption happening
Right.
with connected and autonomous vehicles.
Right. It sounds like sci-fi, but it's closer than you think.
Yeah.
Connected cars are already here, using the internet for everything from navigation, safety features, entertainment, diagnostics. It's like your smartphone on wheels.
Okay, I can get behind that, but autonomous vehicles,
Yeah.
that's where I start to picture robots taking over the world. Is that really where we're headed?
Well, maybe not robots taking over, but self-driving cars are definitely on the horizon.
Okay.
Think sensors, artificial intelligence, the whole shebang. But here's the key question.
Yeah?
Where does Uno Minda fit into this connected and autonomous future?
Yeah, are they just focused on the EV part, or are they playing in these other arenas as well?
They're smart. They're not limiting themselves. Remember all those sensors and controllers in their product portfolio? Those could easily find their way into connected and autonomous systems.
Oh, right. So they're laying the groundwork even if they're not making headlines for self-driving tech just yet.
Exactly. And their R&D teams are exploring advanced driver assistance systems. And those ADS controllers, which are essential for autonomous driving,
Yeah.
they're quietly positioning themselves for whatever the future holds.
It's like they're building a toolbox that can adapt to any scenario.
Right.
Smart move. But there's one more big trend we can't ignore, and that's sustainability.
Yes.
It's not just a trend, it's a necessity.
Absolutely. The automotive industry has a huge responsibility to reduce its environmental impact.
Yeah.
And that means everything from using eco-friendly materials, cutting emissions during manufacturing, to figuring out how to recycle those end-of-life vehicles.
So is Uno Minda on board with the sustainability push? Are they walking the walk?
They're making the right noises, they've set targets for renewable energy use, reducing their carbon footprint and minimizing waste. They're not just talking about it, they're taking concrete steps.
Good to hear. So we've got EVs, connected and autonomous tech, and the sustainability imperative. It's a lot for any company to juggle. What does all of this mean for Uno Minda's future? Can they really pull it off?
It's a high-wire act, no doubt.
Yeah.
But if you look at their recent performance, their strategic partnerships, and their forward-looking mindset, I think they have a real shot. They're not just reacting to change, they're embracing it and actively shaping the future of mobility.
They're not just riding the wave, they're building the surfboard. But as with any ambitious journey, there will be bumps in the road, unexpected detours, and maybe even a wipeout or two.
Of course, the automotive industry is always evolving, always competitive. But Uno Minda has shown that they're adaptable, they're resilient, and they're not afraid to take risks. I, for one, am excited to see what they do next.
Me too. It's been a fascinating deep dive into their world. We've uncovered a lot, their financial strength, their strategic moves, their EV ambition, and their commitment to a more sustainable future. But now it's your turn, listeners.
We've given you the pieces of the puzzle. Now we want to hear your take. What do you think is the most important challenge facing Uno Minda in the years ahead? What strategic advice would you give them to navigate this ever-changing landscape?
Head over to our website and share your thoughts. We're always eager to hear from our insightful listeners.
We are?
And remember, if you want to dive even deeper into Uno Minda's world, check out their full investor presentation on their website. It's packed with information and insights.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep your eyes on the road and your minds open to the possibilities of the future of mobility.
And that concludes our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us.